Don't hold that against him. Came into the New Orleans area in 1976. He's been here ever since. Tried to get rid of him, but he won't leave. He currently serves as a Saints columnist for SportsNOLA.com. He does syndicated work for other publications, for The Advocate, USA Today, and many. Over an elongated period of time now, he's covered the Saints, including for the Times-Picayune, where he did that for 32 years. Currently serves as the tri-host of SportsNOLA TV, Monday nights at 6 on WHNO Channel 20. Of course, the Saints will host Carolina in a flexed game now at 3:25 p.m. this coming Sunday afternoon in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Please give a warm greeting to New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club. Welcome to Brian Allee-Walsh. Brian?
Thanks, everybody. I tell you, I feel like a swallow returning to Capistrano. It reminds me, every year you get a little bit older. Every time I come here, it's usually a year down the road, and I'm reminded that time doesn't stand still. I just, the older you get, one, I'd like to congratulate everybody here on the dais, and it's nice to be with the quarterback club as always. Jay, of course, good luck Friday night against Catholic, and I use the word dynasty. It's an easy word to toss around, but it's fitting, and I hope I'm not putting any whammy on it, because I've talked to Jay, and Jay is very careful about this. But when you think about what Rummel football has done over the past 5 years, it's incredible. And again, good luck. But most importantly, have fun, smell the roses, and stay healthy. And that's what I always say to people like Craig who play the game, and you know how violent it is. You stay healthy, and it's so key to being successful. Before I touch on the Saints, the older I get, the more I am compelled to speak my mind. And when I see things happening around the sports scene in Louisiana, like what's happened up at LSU, I want to couch my comments and make sure that you understand. I don't care if Les Miles coaches another game at LSU. Where I'm coming from is this. What was done to him was absolutely a travesty. How they disrespected that man who had meant so much. Again, it's not about wins and losses. This is about dealing with a man who has given his heart and soul to a program for 11 years. And they disrespected him. It would have never happened under Skip Bertman's regime, never, okay? And it reminds me that there's such a lack of leadership in the administration at LSU. For them to go down and let him burn under the spotlight for 2 to 3 weeks, okay? And then go to him after a game in a coach's locker room, the president of a university and the athletic director, and they never once had the decency to step up and offer any kind of support throughout that whole window I'm talking about. We want you to stay. Well, you know what? I tell you, I would love to know honestly if there was one bone in his body that said, you know what? I'm leaving. You can have this job and the $4 million because I'll go out and find another job and I'll do as good a job, if not better, with them. I tell you what, I thought LSU made such a blunder and such a public relations mistake. You can't put that toothpaste back in the bottle, okay? It was horribly handled, horribly handled. And again, this has nothing to do, and they'll be back in this situation again next year if they don't do two things. And they need to do both. I promise you. They need to beat Alabama, and they need to win the SEC West. And the chances of them doing that are 50-50, okay? They're 50-50. They'll be back in this situation again, and if they are, here's my recommendation. Fire Les and fire Joe Oliva. Because the way he handled it as the #1 representative in his athletic department was a shame. A shame. It should be one of those highlight reel films where this is not the way we handle our business, okay? And this is what gives LSU, the state of Louisiana, bad names, okay? Because of people like that. You don't handle your business that way. And obviously, I'm very emotional about it because you know what? It was disrespectful what they did to Les Miles. And Shaq O'Neal said it best. Shaq O'Neal would have been a better AD during this 3-week period than Joe Oliva. Okay, I'm off my high horse with LSU. Tulane, God bless them. They're in a similar situation, and I agree wholeheartedly with what Rick Gailey said. And I'll add this. As long as the university offers the resources and the commitment, they can win them. They need to make a good choice with their athletic director. They need to have a vision on where to go with this football program, because I know this, it's a meaningful proposition for them because they've just built a 25,000 seat stadium. They've just upset a neighborhood with the lighting situation. So they better win, and they better put fannies in the seats, and we all know which comes first. You have to win to put fannies in the seats, and so that's where they need to go. Who are they going to get? We've debated about this long and hard. Do you go get an existing, an elderly coach who's put skins on the wall and maybe he's in the final years of his career, or do you go after some young assistant who's got a name for himself? I think a Nelson Briles at Baylor. Do you get someone that's in a smaller program who's got head coaching background? I don't know. I'm not going to hire their coach. They know, it's their business, okay? But we've seen how all things have come. Tommy Bowden, Buddy Tevens, Bob Toledo, Vince Gibson, Wally English. You go down the line, okay? And can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. To what degree, I'm not sure. But winning one year is not what it should be about. Sustaining a winning program is what it should be about. And that's the key. I think they can find somebody to win a year. And people say, well, if you get a young coach and he wins there, he's going to leave. So what, in my opinion? If he's bettered the program during his tenure there, I think it's a good move, okay? Stability is one thing, okay? But if you can't find stability, find someone who's going to be successful, who's going to leave your program in better shape than how he found it, all right? So this hire is important for them. It's very, very important for them. And I agree with the gentleman here. Arnie Philco should have been given a chance to speak and be heard and be considered for that job. I think he would have been an excellent candidate. All right, LSU basketball. We haven't even touched on that. And see, I'm from Indiana, by way of Seattle. I'm from Indiana. I love basketball, love college basketball. There's a team up the road that's kind of having some growing pains right now from LSU. Listen, if you have a chance to see him on television, in person, go see him. Ben Simmons is unbelievable. I've not seen, I've been around with John Williams was at LSU, Shaq, Hot Rod Williams, and these guys are all good. They're all outstanding basketball players. Ben Simmons, for being as young as he is, I've never seen such a mature guy. I feel like he's one of these guys, he can push a button and elevate his game in a matter of seconds. And it's just a matter of him growing into being a leader at this level. He's dominated at his level, the AAU level, and that high school level over in Florida and stuff. They played nationally. He can do it. It's just a matter of him coming to grips. How good does this kid want to be in the 4 months or 5 months he's going to be at LSU? Okay. How big a role does he want to take on as a leader? This is what's going to determine his success as a freshman year before he moves on. I think as good as he is, he's surrounded by really good talent, good young talent, and good talent that's coming back from this year. Johnny Jones has a great team. I hope Johnny is successful, because it's not always how good your talent is, it's how you manage it, coach them, and get them to play together. And that's the biggest thing. Ego plays a huge role in this team, and it'll be interesting to see how they all develop as we go forward. All right, Saints. I wanted to come here and say, blow them up. Just blow them up. But you can't do that in today's age. One, everybody's buying horse manure at all the Ace Hardware stores around the country, so there's none. I'm just teasing, of course. But you can't blow them up, and here's why. It all starts with the quarterback. God bless Drew Brees. He's a Hall of Fame player one day. First ballot, no doubt. Outstanding player, outstanding leader. Has done a great, is the face of the franchise. He could probably win the mayoral election if he ever decides to stay here in New Orleans and do that. He's going to count, first, the salary cap. They're over the salary cap right now. $4 million over this year's salary cap. They're going to be, with the way that the money is extended into next year, projecting that the cap goes up $10, $12 million. They're already over next year's cap because of the junior college situation. They're in a heap of trouble when it comes to dollars and cents. They're in a heap, and when you're in a heap of trouble when it comes to the cap, it's very important how you build your team. If you don't have the money, it's a very difficult thing to do. They're strapped with Drew. You know, he's going to count 27 million and some change next year. That's a steep number. But a lot of teams have that kind of problem, okay? And that's part of being successful. You win a Super Bowl, you have good players, you want to keep your core together, and you got to pay them. Well, you can't do it all the time, and they're in that situation where they are in the program. They're feeling those kind of pains right now. And the problem is that the good teams can see those problems down the line. They can keep them at bay for a while, extend the problems, and deal with the problems. And not everybody is in New England, okay? That's a unique situation. There's a lot of great things that they do, and that's why they continue to win. But most teams struggle dealing with winning situations. They struggle in the ensuing years after winning a Super Bowl. And the Saints are a perfect example of that, okay? How they deal with it as we go forward, and they're not dealing with it real well right now. Because when you're left with pennies to fill major holes on a roster and to look at the changes that they did in the offseason, you know, they've done some major personnel changes on the roster, in their scouting department, major changes on Sean Payton's staff. So that's why I wanted to blow it up, but it's feasible, or it's not feasible to do it because of the salary cap situation. You know, I think of the possibilities. Would you maybe? He can't take a pay cut because of the way the salary structure is. They're limited in what they can do with him. He could retire. That's not going to happen. They could trade him. That's a possibility. But if you do that, then Tom Benson is admitting we are definitely going in a different direction. And I got to be honest with you, Tom is a 87, 88, Kenny. I don't think Tom wants to deal with something that far down the road. In fact, I think he doesn't want to buy green tomatoes right now. He doesn't want to buy any fruit that's not really ripe on the vine. And I say that with utmost respect. But he's not in it for the long haul from that standpoint, okay? He doesn't want to do something that major, that drastic, all right, in his lifetime. He's trying to build a legacy right now. And you know what he would like to do? I know this for a fact, Kenny does too. This team losing like it is, it eats at him. It haunts him, all right? Forget about competency and all that stuff. Losing just eats at him. So, what do? How do you correct it? Well, there's just a couple of ways here. Mickey Loomis is your general manager, and Sean Payton's your head coach. Sean Payton's contract runs through 2017, and we've all heard the speculation that, you know, that they may allow him to go test the market and see if there's another job in the college or pro ranks, and if it's the pros, there could be a trade and all that. You know, he's making $8 million a year. He's not walking away. He's not going to be fired, I don't think. So I think you just, you know, if you don't like him, that's fine. You're going to have to live with him at least one more year, I think. He's a successful coach. Coaches like that, Rick knows this, Jay knows this, you don't just become bad overnight. You do make decisions that aren't as successful in the past as maybe they were. Players they don't stay healthy, they don't produce like you hope, and this is what's happening to this club right now. So I think, is this what we're going to get next year? They need to really do some revamping. They need to, you know, they've really done a 50% overhaul on the roster. They brought in some new scouts and new minds from that standpoint. He's going to have to obviously make some corrections on his coaching staff. You know, they made one by firing Rob Ryan, and they've got a lot of work ahead of them, and it's all going to depend on how they deal with the cap. And I think we're in for some interesting times in January, that short period thereafter, to see what direction. You know, we've talked about this on our television show. The three head coaches, Curtis Johnson, Les Miles, and Sean Payton. Which one do you think, this was prior to all this stuff happening, which one do you think will be back? And I didn't think Curtis would withstand it. I thought Les would also be out, and I thought Sean would be the logical one of the three. He won't be fired, in my opinion. Might there be a change? Yes, there might be a change. There could be a mutual separation, but I don't think you're going to see a coaching change at that. I don't think you're going to see a coaching change. And just about when we say that in January, you'll read a headline or something will come across. Sean Payton has resigned from the New Orleans Saints effective immediately. But I don't think that's going to happen. But look, it's not a real good football situation this year. It hasn't been. You know, there have been weekends where all three teams have lost, and that's been a while since that occurred. In fact, we had a couple of weekends like that, I think, this year. And we're used to winning around here. But if I can leave you with one thing before taking questions, I want you to know, I think it's so important to be respectful of people, okay? And we got to keep in mind the Curtis Johnson and his family, Les Miles and his family, and everyone connected with sports. It's about taking care of people and taking care of each other. Jay and Rick know this better than I do, and Craig, is that when your team, it's all about team. And that's what I admired most about Les Miles. Les Miles stuck to the point, okay? You can take me out in public and bash me, but I'm not doing that. I'm not getting involved. I'm not stooping down to that. I am going to coach my team and keep my principles ahead of me, and I'm going to be respectful. And that just obviously it just eats at me that would happen at that level. I think of high school players, and I see that stuff. What kind of representative, what kind of model are we giving our youth? Okay? What kind of message are we sending out to the high school players, to the high school coaches? That's horrible. That is a horrible message to send out. There is such a better way to have done it, and it could have been done with just a little bit of love, a little bit of courtesy, and a lot of respect. Any questions?